yes, any questions, feel free to either write in the chat or unmute yourself. Oh no. Oh no. Sad, Finton, your beautiful voice wasn't recorded. It's ruined. It's recording ruined.
Do you want me to start again?
Yeah, from the top.
We can edit in post.
Yeah, thankfully we have these awesome written posts. So yeah, folks can still stay up to date. But yeah, does anybody have any questions for Finton or the Link team? No?
Okay. I have a question. Did you guys check out, I mean, this is definitely a hard problem, this key stuff, but
yeah.
Have you guys checked out HD keys? Because if you're in sort of a world of pure keys rather than like email recovery identity, HD keys are sort of a useful tool to get around some of these things.
Hierarchical deterministic keys.
Yeah, yeah, and
yeah.
Should check it out. Yeah, the gist of it is you create kind of like a root key, and then from that you can create like a whole bunch of other keys, and those you still have to keep your root key super safe, but all the other keys you can kind of treat as more disposable and like delegatable, which allows for some amount of like a lot more flexibility than you get with just like a single key that can't be rotated.
Cool. Yeah, we'll take a look into that. That's super helpful. Thanks, Andrew. What if that is a root key? Yeah.
Then you're screwed. This is crypto.
Okay, awesome. Anybody else have any questions or comments for Finton or Link? All right, then let's maybe move it along to Upstream. I don't know who's presenting from Upstream. Oh, sorry, Upstream. All clients. Sorry. Ouch! Ouch! That was rude. That was rude.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, I was gone with urgent family matters last month, and yeah, since then the team decided that there's no team anymore. So I'm looking for work.
Oh man! Oh god! Breaks my heart. But yes. Open for work. Rudolph is up for grabs. What an awesome offer. But and also yes, welcome back. We missed you. Okay, then maybe we can move along to our clients.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Cool. Yeah, so I just prepared like a quick update. We are kind of late and didn't prepare a forum post yet, but we will surely post that after the meeting. So I just have like just one slide that outlines the key things that we're working on. So we'll try to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, so one of the main themes still in July is the patches workflow, especially on the web interface. So there was a lot of effort that went into UI and UX design and also implementation, which is not fully done yet, but yeah, already in a quite good state. And additionally, we also continue working on the CLI. So we did a lot of like small improvements on the tools, on like the programs, on the binaries that we had. So while going like through the patches workflow, we discovered like a few smaller issues that we fixed. And also besides that, we started researching terminal UIs. So yeah, since we're also trying to dog food ourselves, we started looking into like a more advanced client kind of that should integrate well with the CLI tools that we have already. yeah, and I think in the next month we will continue working on the web implementation for patches, and also try to bring the terminal UI to life. So I think that was kind of quick. But as I said, I think we will also just prepare a post for the forum. Are there any questions?
Anyone? Going once, going twice. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for the update. If you want to write a forum update to post later, that would be awesome. But thank you for the presentation. We can move it along to drips if no one has any other questions.
Cool. Let me try to share my screen. All right, can everyone see this?
It's loading now, yes.
Okay, cool. This is the update on the community site from Drips. So the big announcement this month is that we have a release candidate live on, actually don't know how to pronounce this, Gorley or Gorley. We've changed to a new testnet because Rinkeby is being decommissioned. So yeah, big shout out to Igor for all of his work on this, both like a ton of work on the smart contracts and also, of course, because it's blockchain, he's also having to like redo all our tooling to move to Foundry at the same time. So thanks for pushing so hard, Igor. And it's exciting. We have some contracts live on this testnet. So if you're a sort of early adopter or just interested, please dive in and play around and give us feedback. We're pretty excited about that. And I guess I just wanted to say, I think we've mentioned this before, but we're planning to follow a similar pattern to what we followed with Drips V1, which is that we're just going to do a series of release candidates that should be more and more stable until we feel like one is good enough, and then that's what we'll go with for mainnet. So there's going to be more of these. So basically stay tuned for updates. We may even have another one this month. So yeah, release candidates of the smart contracts. Meanwhile, back in Drips V1, Yanis is off to a great start already. He's had a bunch of great PRs on the Drips V1 SDK, made it much more stable and just better organized. Lots of help from Jason on the Workstreams team as well. So thank you, Jason. And Yanis has also jumped in and started working on V2 of the SDK. So we're pretty excited about that because that'll really allow a lot more people to jump in and start using the smart contracts and kind of testing them, as well as starting to develop apps. So we're basically kind of bringing everything else into V0.2 world. So because of some of the differences in, I guess you could call it like the product between V01 and V02, namely like V01 was much more focused on NFTs and subscription memberships, whereas V0.2 is much more focused on kind of the nuts and bolts of streaming and trying to build really like the best, we think the best streaming protocol in Web3. We're just going to do a separate set of documentation and also kind of like web page and everything as well for the two, since we want to continue to support V01 as well for the foreseeable. So there's going to be a new landing page for a new website that Everett has already started working on, and I did a first version of the V02 docs. It's pretty lean, but check it out at that link if you're interested. Would love to get your feedback. As I just alluded to, we've also done a ton of work this month on just kind of product related research and thinking. Lots of help from all sorts of folks on the growth team and others at Radicle and outside of Radicle. So that's been pretty insightful to kind of see, just really to see everything that's happening. Lucas just shared a couple more teams moving into the streaming space as well. So it's just exciting to see so much energy around streaming, and I think it gives us a lot of confidence that we've that we're sort of in the right place with drips. So what's next for next month? More release candidates, as I said. Hopefully the first version of V0.2 SDK. I've started working on the first version of the V0.2 subgraph, so stay tuned there as well. Landing page and website, as I said, and we definitely need to do some more security work to make sure the contracts are secure. There are a few features where we've got basically designs for them, but we're still trying to kind of fold them in, hoping to get them into this release because it would make it really more, even a bit more powerful. So let's hope we can do it. I think that's it. Yeah, just thanks to everyone in the community. We've had a ton of support. We've been in this like long push to V0.2 and a ton of support from the rest of the Radicle team and community. So thank you everyone so much for that, as always. Any questions? All right, I guess I'll hand it back to you, Shelby.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Andrew. Yeah, and then sorry, let me get my list. Where to go? We will up next move on to Workstreams.
All right. Share my screen. An arrow queued while screen sharing. Great. Every time. 1 sec. Okay. Can you see the slides?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, I have a few slides to go through, so I'm going to try to do this quick. Okay, so Workstreams. So if there's someone new here, real quick, Workstreams is essentially us building a kind of grants platform / contributor compensation product on top of Radicle Drips, the streaming protocol by Radicle that we've just heard about. And this month we have a few major updates. So the first one is Gnosis Safe support, very important one. So obviously most grants programs are going to have their funds in Gnosis Safes, and so far those weren't really supported in any way on the Workstreams app, which is obviously quite a deal breaker for production adoption. And so very happy that Gnosis Safe support is now a thing. And it did take a bit of a weird implementation to get there. Which is why I would like to dive into that a little bit deeper. So basically, as you know, on Workstreams, we use sign-in with Ethereum, meaning you authenticate against the Workstreams API by signing locally using your Ethereum key, just a little message that can then get verified on the server side and then just turned into a session token to authenticate. And then you can use that session token to interact with the API, for example, to create a workstream, right? Now, the problem with this and Gnosis Safe is obviously that a Gnosis Safe it's not in itself a signer wallet, right? So it doesn't have any keys that it can use to sign a login message. So logging in with the Gnosis Safe in this way would essentially require a quorum just to log in, which is obviously not viable UX-wise, obviously. And so the approach that I came up with is to have this kind of linking interaction where the UI kind of figures out, okay, a Gnosis Safe is associated with this particular address that just logged in. And then you can just tell the API, hey, I want to actually interact with Workstreams as that particular Gnosis Safe. And server-side then it validates if that particular address that has logged in and signed the login message is actually an owner of that safe. And in that case, you're then essentially, as part of that session, interacting with Workstreams on behalf of that Gnosis Safe. So this works pretty well so far, and it should also be secure. So let's just have a quick look on that on production. Not production, obviously, this is testnet. So here we are on the Workstreams UI. If I head over to my dashboard, you can see that obviously there's nothing here because I'm not logged in. If I click on sign in, there's this new little notice down here that says using a Gnosis Safe, connect one of the safe signer wallets, aka any of the owners. And you'll be able to connect your safe in the following step. So here, I'm not actually supposed to connect to my safe straight yet. Instead, I should just connect one of the owner wallets of the safe. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So this wallet owns a Gnosis Safe on Rickaby. And you can see that if I log in with this particular address, it automatically detects the safe associated with this address, also pulls in the ENS, kind of says, hey, like there's a Gnosis Safe associated with your account. You can choose to link that. But of course, I can also not link it and actually use Workstreams as the identity that I actually have signed in with. So if I click Link Safe, I actually have to do one more thing, which is it pops up another kind of Wallet Connect modal. And I just have to go ahead and in my Gnosis Safe, also link it additionally using the Wallet Connect Safe app so that actually transactions can be kicked off. Once I've done that, you can see that I am effectively logged in with the identity owned by my Gnosis Safe. Now all the interactions I do are essentially done through that Gnosis Safe identity, which is pretty cool. And it obviously allows actually grants programs or DAOs to actually use this product, which is obviously quite important for adoption. Then one quick detail I also want to point out is that, of course, a lot of the interactions that you do with Drips while you are signed in with the Gnosis Safe are going to be transactions, right? And those with the Gnosis Safe are obviously very long-standing asynchronous interactions rather than resolving immediately, like usually. So I also went through all of the interactions and kind of changed them to support that properly. So for example, if I go to this Workstream here, which is currently out of funds, if I click Top Up, you can see that there's a little notice here, for example, that says, obviously your top-up is only going to apply once that transaction has been executed by your safe. And if I go ahead and top up for 10 DAI here, instead of now waiting for the transaction to be confirmed, it just says, okay, continue in your safe. You click got it, and that's it. And then if I go over here, the transaction actually gets kicked off and then obviously executed only when quorum has been reached. And then obviously, the UI is going to update accordingly. So all the interactions are now kind of dynamic, depending on whether you are currently logged in as a safe or not. Cool. Going back, the second major update is support for mobile. So this should be simple, but actually wasn't, because a lot of the layout was kind of built in a rather prototypey fashion with only desktop in mind. So now Workstreams, this is almost done. I think I can merge it today. It has a full mobile layout. So let's just look at that real quick as well. So over here in the dashboard, if I jump to mobile, you can see that there's actually a little nifty bottom navigation going on, which replaces the header on desktop. And there's even a little kind of fly out account menu, which is pretty cool. You can move it around with your finger, which is neat. And also all of the flows, such as withdrawing funds, topping up a work stream, creating a work stream, everything has been kind of redesigned to at least fit mobile, including all of the views like this one, for example, where there's now a little neat streaming animation. So lots of work went into this. I'm pretty satisfied with how it turned out, but obviously it's just the first step, and the UI can be improved further in the future. Cool. Moving on. So then I would like to give a huge shout out to Nals, because we have started the grants program outreach program, I guess. So we have started talking to a few DAOs, so far only one, but hopefully more soon, just to kind of get a download on how they use their grants program, what tooling they use, and also generally kind of about how they compensate contributors, to see exactly kind of where Workstream could fit in. Also get their thoughts on this idea of streaming funds, which is obviously quite a novel idea to them. And then use all of that information at the end to really distill a coherent product strategy for this product going forward. So quite excited about that. And so far, we've already got some really good ideas out of it. And I'm sure next month we'll have a broader update. And then lastly, also huge thanks to Yorgos and Boredom, who have participated in quite a few discussions, especially also in Paris. Lots of interesting ideas, lots of feedback, and a lot of cool ideas came out of it. Like, for example, this little mock-up about maybe the ability to combine streams and one-time payments as part of a singular work stream, which I think is a cool idea. Yeah, the feedback has been super important, and can't wait to actually run the first Radicle grant of Workstreams, hopefully very soon. So yeah, that's it. Thanks to everyone, and yeah, see you next month. Any questions?
Wow. That was a lot, and it was amazing, all of it. Yes, a lot to ask questions about. Does anybody have anything or comments? There's a lot of praise happening in the channel. I don't know if you saw that, Jason, which is well-deserved. Super, super cool. Yeah, anyone?
Jason, I have a question. I was just curious. Sorry, I feel like I'm asking all the questions. Hope that's okay. Jason, I was just curious. That's a kind of a neat pattern about like the login session token. Is that I'm not super familiar with I guess a ton of different Web3 dApps. I was just curious if that's a pattern that others have used.
No, I mean, so sign in with Ethereum for sure. I've seen it quite a lot in the wild. And there's, I mean, I'm just using a library for that. So this is all kind of pretty established stuff. But the Gnosis Safe interaction specifically, I think is new. I didn't see anyone else do that. But I also, basically all I found is just people saying you can't really do signing with Ethereum if you want to work with the Gnosis Safe. So yeah, I mean, I would love to have some more opinions on this, and also like, if anyone sees potential security issues with this approach, please let me know. I think it should be safe, but it seems to be a new thing, so it's not really a validated pattern. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I guess I always have that concern, like if no one else has done it on security, but also like I think it would be cool to do a blog post on, because it seems quite smart, and I think others in the like Web3 might be interested.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to like do a little bit of QA on it, and if it does turn out working well, then for sure would be a good idea.
What's like the status of dog fooding our core team with this? Like we talked about this.
Yeah.
So like what's like the next step for like actually bringing on teams, like whether it's us or other teams or whatever?
So I'm not sure if anyone maybe from the governance side has some thoughts on this, but I mean, as far as I know, we had a conversation about how we could potentially use Workstreams to stream funds to individual core teams, and then they can be redistributed further from within the teams themselves. But I mean, I assume that probably like none of this would really start happening until the DAO transition is done, right? But you know, maybe anyone else has any thoughts on this, but that's my understanding right now.
I'll just, first, yeah, no, Jason, this is a really nice presentation. Thank you. To your point, yeah, the org design team met with the Workstream folks to discuss kind of where the product is going and how we might think about it in relation to the transition to the DAO. We came to the conclusion that this sort of product might be good for some contributors, not all. And I think if you are very interested in sort of dog fooding Workstreams and being paid by the DAO now, come talk to us. And we'd love to, I think Jason would be very keen on it. We would be sort of keen on it to set up an initial, person to be paid. Yeah, cool. Brandon, we can talk offline too to see what that might look like. Our floater can do some of the testing for us. That would be great. We can talk about how that might look like, especially for someone like Brandon, where it's sort of interesting when you have someone who's participating in many different core teams, and what that might look like. And yeah, we can sort of talk about that offline though, Brandon, and see what we can come up with.
I guess I'll just throw in like a thought here, just kind of after our discussions in Paris to, I feel like we still have to kind of figure out how we want to, or how like this whole budgeting or discussion and like these like pillars and the, what was it, the shaman, like how all of that is going to kind of play out. And before we can kind of, I guess, yeah, I mean, for individual, like Brandon, it maybe makes sense, but for like core team budgets, it's like, seems like it's going to be a really complicated process to kind of figure out how, or, how we kind of assess that, or who assesses that. So I think once we kind of figure those things out, I guess maybe then it would, for larger teams, like for dogfooding, for like core teams, for example, we could maybe like revisit the idea of using Workstreams to like pay out there. But yeah, I guess in my head anyway, I feel like it seems like there's still a lot to kind of like discuss on the end of just trying to figure out how we want to do this thing, and then yeah, figuring out what will work best for teams or individuals or etc. So I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything or say anything.
Yeah, just I mean, in the meantime, we're also trying to figure out with Bottom and Yorgos how to pay Yorgos potentially a part of his grant out with Workstreams as soon as possible. There's a few like complications there, but hopefully we can actually try that soon.
And you're also like in touch with other DAOs, right? Like through Gnosis?
I mean, yeah, we're just starting that up. Like we only talked to Polygon so far, which is obviously a bit too big of a player to like start out with. But maybe, let's see how the conversations go. It might be that it's more supposed to be a research thing, right? Before we actually try to convince them of anything, but it might be that they actually are interested enough to help us try testing. Let's see.
Cool. Super cool. Really exciting. And yeah, it is crazy. I feel like every month you just have like these crazy presentations with like a million new things. Awesome. Okay, cool. We'll keep it moving then for now if nobody has anything else to ask for Workstreams on to growth. I think Nasa's on here. He was sending some comments earlier in the chat.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, can you see me?
Can see you now too.
Amazing. Cool. Well, Lucas is gonna do our update, but I just wanted to give a quick overview on kind of high level strategy. I think you guys have seen, I guess, new contributors joining in the core channel that are working on different parts of kind of the growth side, and so I just wanted to just give a quick overview on kind of how we're thinking about things to give context to all of that. And so, this is obviously preaching to the choir here. Everyone understands this idea that protocols equal open source software with network effects. But I guess I thought it's kind of a good framing to explain why we're building the structures we are. I think that in particular right now, the link protocol isn't quite ready for growth, kind of growth efforts. We're kind of supporting with kind of research and hiring there, but most of our work is currently focused on drips as that gets ready to have people using it. And so with that in mind, there's kind of key components of what we think is important to have in place to have more people building on top of the drips protocol. Step one of that is kind of attracting developers. There's kind of hackathons, workshops, press and social podcasts, and also like building a funnel to kind of the developers that do engage, getting them to a place where we can actually start speaking to them and supporting them. And so like Tom and others on the marketing side have started doing work on this, and the DevRel side is also that's forming is going to be working on the hackathons and workshops. And then there's developer education and experience, kind of building out this infrastructure, the documentation, tutorials, demos, SDKs, and kind of support as people try and build on it. And so some of this will be done by the Drips team, and the rest of it will be done by and supported by the DevRel team. And so again, that's kind of why that's been forming. And Cami's actually just posted something to the forum that you should be able to read on kind of the strategy for the DevRel side. And then the next phase, once you've actually got people kind of at these hackathons and people starting to build the protocol, I think what a lot of ecosystems are putting in place is kind of support for these projects. And so, grants, kind of different resources, partnering with things like Alchemy and smart contract auditors, and then different services and a partner network and advisor network. We're still fairly early on these things. I mean, the grants program is up and running, but we've just started thinking about, I guess, this side of this part of the journey of builders who come to build on our protocols and how we can support, like, I guess, pull them in, attract them, and support them. And then there's a team that started exploring kind of more of a cohort program that will kind of again support I think builders from the stage of like hackathon to getting them to a point where they're ready to be independent projects, and perhaps get some funding. That's kind of the next stage that people are focusing on supporting. And again, for us, the protocol is it's not quite on mainnet yet, so this is not something that we're kind of rushing to, but we're just starting to put the thinking and structures in place so that as teams start building our hackathons, that we've got the support infrastructure. And then the other thing that we've already been doing a fair bit of is kind of reaching out to existing teams to build partnerships. Lucas and I have been doing a fair bit of this and starting to explore token swaps with some of them. But yeah, this is kind of for the teams that are kind of existing. They have existing funding and they're already kind of up and running, and they want to use the protocol for kind of adding functionality. That's kind of where the partnership team will come in, and perhaps token swaps will make sense there. So yeah, that's kind of high level. That's kind of the high level strategy that we've currently been building out. And the people that we're onboarding and the teams that we're onboarding to contribute to different parts of that is kind of yeah, why that's happening. And so I thought it'd be good to do an overview of that. But cool, that's it from my side. Any questions, or should we first let Lucas jump in and give an update? Maybe Lucas, do you want to jump in first, unless anyone's eager to jump in with a question?
Yeah, I can do that. Oh, Nas, can you share your screen with the growth, like the?
Oh, right. Is it in the forum?
Yep.
So,
Well, while you do that, we need to give a shout out to the team that organized the offsite. I think it went really well. It was really nice meeting you all in person, and I'm really looking forward for the next one. So yeah, kudos to you all. And then yeah, today we're using like a slightly new format, which is just adding like kind of our goals and then updates on those goals. So when you see the 1 and 2 number, those are like some of our objectives. And then yeah, we are going to talk about Radicle code collaboration, drips. Then we're going to talk about DevRel, the ecosystem cohort program, and finally the ecosystem growth funds. I'm going to try to go a little quicker because I put a lot of words, but we probably won't say everything in there. So on Code Collab, our 2 main goals right now are recruitment on one side, and then research and feedback. And research and feedback related to bringing that feedback from initial segments and use cases for the team to then grab that and decide what to do, right? So on the recruitment side of things, Nas had a few good conversations and will be continue investing more time in sourcing people for the link team. And then on the research and feedback side of things, we finalized the early user program that basically consisted in several steps, having multiple feedback calls. And out of 287 people that started, 13 finalized for different reasons. Some got stuck in the process of installing Radicle, and some others didn't give enough time to basically finalize the whole process. So we got like multiple inputs and feedback areas, like for example the flow to install the CLI, which I understand that Alexi and the team had already fixed that. We shared some bug reports, and people asked stuff around documentation, like comparing how people would use GitHub compared to Radicle, and then folks also share ideas around discoverability and making the mirroring between GitHub and Radicle more automated and simpler. When I copied everything from Notion, not all the links were copied. I don't know why, but then I can share basically the work we did. So with the report, we put everything on GitHub, and we have like the pipeline and different things that I can share afterwards. So in terms of next steps for code collaboration, so after delivering this feedback, we understand that the team is focused on dog food in Radicle, and like just being able to use it internally. And we agreed that the growth team will continue reporting bugs and exploring the free and open source community and the developers in those communities to understand how they would prioritize the product roadmap. So in relation to that, we came back with basically this whole thing came back into our radar because SFC, which is basically an organization that conglomerates like 40 different free and open source projects, encourage people to ditch GitHub after they decided to charge for Copilot. So a summary of those events can be found in a synopsis that the growth team did on how that affects our team, how this is an opportunity for us. So based on that, we created basically a pipeline to start talking to these people. So there are 40 people right now in, and then what we're doing when they respond is sharing a questionnaire. We're hoping that questionnaire will help the Radicle team inform how they can like either prioritize the roadmap or also share ideas on what's important to them. So moving on to Drips protocol, we have 3 kind of objectives. One is ready to sail, so having 10 protocol integrations or partnerships. Then on the research and feedback side of things, it's very similar to Code Collab. It's bringing the feedback from the segments that we agreed on and basically feed the team with those inputs from the market. And then lastly, growing awareness. So basically having marketing contributors doing marketing stuff to increase the awareness of the Drips protocol, what we're doing and what we stand for. So updates related to research and feedback. So with the team, we created this document that was basically outlining our learnings from conversations with different DAOs that were targeting 2 main user personas, so DAO operators and contributors. So the outcome was a protocol overview and where we think the Drips protocol can excel compared to the other solutions in the market. As Andrew said, there are like a lot of players getting in, which is validating, and it also means that it's good to understand where we can really win in certain areas or niche areas. So yeah, this was a great way for us as well to organize our ideas, get an understanding on where we stand in the market. And in terms of sales, so Drips is getting close to getting deployed on testnet, and hopefully in September it will be deployed on mainnet. So the North Star is to get those 10 DAO tooling platforms partner or integrated by the end of 2022. And as in any road, the road will be bumpy, but also we have a team that has gone through this, and we're getting prepared to that point in which we can start integrating, right? So our focus is on building a pipeline that we already started, and then honing in the pitch and talk tracks, including like templates, sequences, and coordinating with DevRel and marketing to basically support us in that process. So in relation to DevRel, the 2 areas of focus are recruitment and then basically a strategy and formation support. So on the recruitment side of things, we basically have almost a full team now. So Cami with Michiel and Nas, and there are 2 new contributors starting this month. And then on the strategy side of things, Cami and Nas have been working on a document that can be found on forum. And the next steps are to start building a community of developers, educators that serve the ecosystem and support Radicle teams to attract, educate, and support developers. And Nas presenting the presentation that he shared before at the Growth Summit. So you can find it here. And these are some of the points that he shared. And then we have also the ecosystem cohort program. So the goals there were to set up a better support program to support developers and entrepreneurs that feel, that would add value to our ecosystem, and then find supported projects to join that cohort program. So the updates on that regard are that Ruth, Lindquist, and Maddie have been building a strategy for supporting entrepreneurs. We want building our ecosystem from prototype to funding, and they should have the first draft of a strategy in a week or so. And Ruth worked on building out the entrepreneur support program at UCL. Maddie's building a DAO for educating VCs on Web3, and Linkos have been working across the Web3 ecosystem and is now working at Animoco. So we are very excited about this team, and we think that great projects can come out of this cohort program. And then lastly, the Ecosystem Growth Fund funded 3 months of new DevRel team with the multi-seed for Cami to coordinate funds for DevRel team and bounties. I know it was a long one, but yeah, any questions or suggestions?
Any questions for the growth team? For Lucas? Oh, sorry, Brandon.
Yeah, no problem. Growth is just it sounds like just working on drips at the moment, right? Like there's no like plan to like, or I don't know. Is there a plan for like when we get the web app to a place where it can be used? Like, is there like some kind of plan in place to get that?
Yeah, I'd say that we're working on we're working on setting up for growth of drips primarily, and then with regards to Workstreams and the web client and the link protocol, it feels like we're at the moment the way we're treating it is that we're supporting the research side of that and bringing like insights on like where the demand is and what they're looking for in a solution, rather than kind of going out and trying to help those projects get adoption. That's how I've understood it from each of those teams at the moment. So yeah, we did a research document for drips, which kind of highlighted kind of what we saw in the DAO tooling and DAO contributor payment space, with also an evaluation of the technical like gaps and kind of where it fits and where we thought it may not fit. And so that's the kind of stuff we're trying to do a bit more of, which we're also speaking to the product team about, to bring that from the growth side to the teams that are like not quite ready for growth.
Yeah, makes sense. I was just confirming.
Any other questions or comments for growth? No. Okay, I will. We're already almost up on time, so I'm gonna keep rolling stuff. Two more groups here. I am going to very, very, very quickly do a community governance update, which we will post the actual post after the call. But so just wanted to highlight a few things. There will be an upcoming on-chain vote for the Radicle Gitcoin Public Goods Alliance. I just shared the formal review post on the forum in the chat here for you folks to look over. Yeah, this is kind of like the last review process before it goes to on-chain vote. So if you have any last-minute comments or questions, please be sure to respond there. It passed the snapshot poll last week with 6.9 million rad voting in favor for it to move forward. But yeah, so just wanted to kind of highlight that and keep an eye out for that. And yeah, if you haven't noticed already, there's 2 new Discord channels under the governance section. There's an org design workstream and a DAO tooling workstream channel. Just wanted to highlight that for folks to like keep an eye out there for updates or discussions around the work streams if you haven't seen it already. And I'm going to do a shameless plug for the Radicle Governance Updates newsletter. If you don't follow it or if you haven't subscribed to it already, it includes not only a lot of the important governance updates, but also we started including a lot of the DAO tooling, or like the transition to the DAO workstream updates as well. So it's a really cool place to kind of get all of that information in a nice compact little newsletter every 2 weeks. So yeah, one went out today, so the next one won't be coming out for 2 more weeks. But yeah, just wanted to plug that quick. And now I will pass it off to Boredom for a really cool grants update. Yeah, I'll let you, Boredom, dive into it, but I'll also share the post that you shared as well. so people can look over that as well. But if you want to take it away.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right, great. Yes, I did a cross post in the announcements and then the grants part of discourse. So it's just a retrospective on the last 6 months. The top is a big table ranked by grant size and then whether or not they got funded. So I'm not going to go through this line by line, but that's how it's organized. So feel free. Little links on all the applications. So I'll just kind of start with like the high level summary of the first wave. So the sort of emergent pattern that came about from voting and getting consensus on grants was that basically anyone that was successful to get a grant was either contributing to our ecosystem, so something directly tied to the product, something within the ecosystem like education, blog posts, or something to do with Web3 or free and open source software. And then, conversely, the side of that was that pretty much all the rejections were due to grants not being really related to Radicle or not really having a strong case with open source contributions. This is kind of in line. This is basically what we wanted to do. So it was just nice to see that play out in the way that people were voting. There's also a quick summary of some numbers, which I thought were interesting. So just in terms of applications, we had 27. So out of 6 months, it's about 4.5 per month. And then like the total value out of all the grants was a little bit over $1 million USDC. And then out of successful applicants, there were 8. So it's a 29% success rate. And we used up so far 52,000 or so USDC. We're going to have a bit, this is likely to double just because we have a few grants that are in progress. And so this is just counting the money that's actually been sent out to grants. We always send out 20% when they get started and 80% when they complete. So presumably this number might double or triple depending on how much success grantees have with their projects. That's just kind of just as of this morning. Yeah, so the notable firsts, we had the first time that someone applied once, completed work, and then came back for a second grant. That was Yorgos, who's on the call, doing a lot of great work around IDE plugins. So that should help kind of make our product more sticky if people can plug it into their favorite IDEs that they use for developing. And then we worked closely with Brandon on getting that Gnosis Safe multi-sig integration. We couldn't really, the grants committee couldn't really take a look at Workstreams until that was set up. So thanks, Brandon, for that. There was a few notes of like things that we could improve on. We had one vote that was rejected after voting started. So long story short is right, if you're using Gnosis, once you start a vote, you either have to finish the vote or reject it, but there's a lot of overhead and it just kind of messes up things, and then you get this backlog of other things that you want to vote on. So I think finding some way to gauge voter intent earlier on would be a good short-term solution. I think more longer term is maybe implement some off-chain way of voting to gather intent from multi-sig members. We also had a few completely abandoned projects. One was this one group was doing a blog post or sort of like a website about educating people about Web3. They abandoned it because there wasn't Microsoft support. I mean, short-term fix is just find better ways to figure that out before you even start the grant, and then maybe just don't support that grant. But the longer-term fix is really just make sure that people can use the product on any kind of device. Then another one was there was a third-party dependency issue. It was a CLI drips. It was a wallet connect issue. So it was out of our hands. And so I think in the short term, maybe they could have gotten help. They didn't really, I told them who to talk to, but they didn't really reach out to any core dev for any advice, which is too bad. I think longer term is maybe we can figure out how to work with third-party dependencies and maybe like fund them to fix bugs if it would prioritize grantees. work getting done. And then the last thing is I think we just spent a lot more money on committee fees than was probably warranted given how much we actually spent on grants. So that's kind of a summary of wave one. Wave two, this whole section, I was debating whether or not I should write it before or after the Paris offsite. It was really good to write it afterwards because I basically based it all off of everything we talked about. So the basic plan is what we're going to do is, because this is in the original charter, we have to return any unused funds by September 20th to the Treasury and then reapply with a new proposal. But what I'd like to do is, based on the ideas from the offsite, I'd like to write up a new proposal by September 20th that assumes optimistic funding of grants. So what we were doing before was we were planning on reapplying every 6 months, which creates a lot of overhead. And is sort of like the opposite of the optimistic funding that we talked about in the offsite. A few objectives I wrote down. One is dog fooding. So I'd like us to facilitate grants exclusively on Workstreams. I don't know exactly how that's going to work in terms of, some of the things that Brandon noted about how exactly to slice up payments over time. We can figure that out later, but I just want to run the entire thing on grants on Workstreams. I don't want to be using Discourse. It's not that I don't like Discourse. It's just I don't believe in the idea of using 5 different tools to do work, especially if we can get one to do all of it and our own. Another thing is I'd like grantees to start using some of the code collaboration at some point. And I'm thinking about putting together like maybe some kind of bonus package, like if you post your grant work on a Radicle product, get a 1 or get like a few percentage points bonus, something like that. I'd like to retroactively fund our dependencies. So we have like some dependencies for grants like Gnosis, Snapshot, Compound, Drips Dev. I basically like to set aside 4% of our budget and then split this across each dependency. And I was talking to Tom about this, kind of like write up a blog post about what retroactive funding means for open source and how we're utilizing drips to enable all of that. Another thing is Web3 partnerships. I could see us working with first party, that means core development teams, to get on your guys' roadmap if we see things that grantees struggle with. We'd like to kind of like help surface that and then get your attention on it. Kind of the way that we did with Brandon and getting Gnosis support. Also like recruiting. So our first grant was actually retroactively funding work that Brandon had done. I think that kind of stuff where we could maybe use grants as a means to kind of test candidates out is one idea I have. And then third-party partnerships is kind of what I mentioned before. If we see dependencies that are blocking people from doing work, we might be able to unblock them by helping co-fund work, not necessarily fully funding it, but possibly co-funding. And then the last thing is I'd like the grants to be at the forefront of the transition to DAO. So I'd like to create a new sub-DAO proposal, kind of the way that we talked about in the offsite. And that would be optimistically funded. So have some budget that it stays there for perpetuity unless there's some ad hoc need to either defund it or refund it. And then just have like ongoing reviews, either on like a 6-month cadence or on an ad hoc basis. Yeah, try to make it short because I'm kind of going over, but any questions?
Anyone? This is super, super, super cool. Really, really helpful. In my opinion, really helpful, like detailed overview of kind of the last 6 months and how, the first wave of our first ever grants program, has gone, and learnings from that. I am curious. I'm curious. I'm really, if you do more posts or you write more and more things, especially around this kind of like sub-DAO creation, I'd be really interested. I'm really curious to like read that proposal. yeah, I don't know if anybody else had any like specific thoughts on anything else Boredom said or anything that's coming up for grants. Or that was.
So on that point, like I think the way, because we took money from the treasury, I guess kind of by definition, like right now I'm just like this DAO that happens to have Radicle in its name, but it's more like a parent DAO. I'm not like the child DAO of anyone. So I think like the way I'm gonna schedule to try to do this by September 20th, like agnostic of whether or not there's a Radicle like a transition to a Radicle DAO. So if there is a transition to a Radicle DAO by September 20th, then I will work with that DAO to have the Radicle grants DAO like attached to it as a sub DAO. But if not, I'll probably go through the same process, and then like for the next 6 months, just basically be a standalone DAO. Kind of by definition, the fact that I'm taking money from like a central entity. That's kind of my thinking on it. Like just on like the inputs of time, I don't know when the transition's going to happen. It sounded like around January though.
Yeah, I guess just a quick reminder for everyone there. I think we're kind of trying to have the scaffolding for the transition in place by this fall, so probably around September, October. That's what I think the latest update was from the org design team. And then to have the full transition, the goal is to be ready for that by February of next year. Just kind of for your information, and also just for everyone on the call, just a little reminder there. And yeah, I think we're on a good track to get there at this point. But yeah, I see what you're saying though, with like how you would do that differently than if the DAO was ready by September. But yes, February or spring 2022, I would aim for rather for that, or plan for that rather. A lot of baby DAO comments going through here. Anyone else have any comments or questions? Or yes, Angie, thank you. Scaffolding in place for the MV minimum viable DAO by November 2022 and transfer ready by February 2023. Perfect, thank you. Great. Anyone else? Questions, comments? No? Okay, great. Yeah, if as always, I'll be collecting kind of all of the links and notes from the call, and we'll hopefully have the video here posted within the next few days. We had a problem with FYI from last month's call, the notes have already been posted, but the video itself has not been, because we had some issues with recording, but we're still trying to get, and the audio quality isn't that great, so we're still trying to figure out what to do with that one. But notes from last month are up in the usual spot on I'll send it here in the link, and yeah, notes for this call and the recording should be up within the next few days. But yeah, okay, awesome. Then thank you, everyone. Really cool updates, and really excited to see what we have coming next month. Great. Okay, well then I'll close it out here. Thanks everyone for staying on a bit longer and participating. We'll see you guys next month.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.
Bye.